So this is the first problem that we will solve. But before that, let's decide how we will solve it. For each problem, we will first discuss the problem statement, and then we will talk about how to solve it. And next, based on the discussion of the solution, we will solve it using Python. And finally, we will submit the problem here to check whether our code perfectly runs for all the test cases for each problem. So let's dive in. First problem is mangoes. A market stall purchases mangoes in the morning and sells them throughout the day. Any unsold mangoes are carried over to the next day. The stall owner ensures that older mangoes are sold before the newer ones. So a 3-day example is given, and obviously we know for day 1 there will not be any unsold mangoes. There are 10 mangoes bought and 6 mangoes sold, and all the 6 mangoes that are sold will be fresh, and that's what's written here. But there are some unsold mangoes from day 1. Here's the number is 4, that will be carried over to the next day, which is day 2. For day 2, we have 5 mangoes bought and 7 mangoes sold. And among these 7 mangoes, first the seller will ensure that 4 old mangoes are sold, and the remaining 3 will be taken from the fresh one. So for day 2, we have 3 fresh mangoes. So how many mangoes will be carried over to the next day? 5 minus 3, which is day 3. 1 mango will be bought and 3 mangoes will be sold. So among these 3 mangoes, 2 are old and 1 will be new, which was bought on that day. In total, we will have 6 plus 3 plus 1, 10 fresh mangoes. Here our task would be to write a program that calculates and outputs the total number of fresh mangoes over a specified number of days. Here the input and output formats are given as well. So let's have a look at the input. The first line is 3, which is n, the number of days. And for the next n lines, here, since n is 3, the next 3 lines will have a pair of numbers separated by a space, saying first number to be the number of mangoes bought and the second number would be the number of mangoes sold. And the output will be a single number saying the total number of fresh mangoes sold for the whole period. And yes, here we will be solving the problem and submitting the solution here. So since we'll be solving all the problem using Python, we will select Python here, Python 3.10 or CPython. Now let's discuss how to solve the problem. To solve this problem, we will have to keep track of some numbers. The first one is number of unsold mangoes for each day. And also, we will keep track of the number of bought mangoes and sold mangoes as well. So, the example that was given, it was 3, that's the first line, saying n, number of days. Then for day 1, it's 10, 6, for day 2, it's 5, 7, for day 3, it's 1, 3. Initially, the number of unsold mangoes will be 0, and yeah, we will have another variable, or say another thing, that is the result, which will be 0 as well initially. So for each step or each day, the number of fresh mangoes that are sold will be added here. So we are gonna keep all the fresh mango number for each day here, and for that will be added step by step. Alright, I'm just making it R which is result, and U as unsold. And yes, this U means unsold will be tracked, which I said previously. Okay, so for day 1, 10 mangoes are bought, 6 mangoes are sold. 0 unsold mangoes. Now, is sold greater than unsold for that day? Yes, that means we will have some fresh mangoes sold on that day. The number of fresh mangoes will be 6 in this case. Now this 6 will be added in the result. So now the updated result will be 6. And we have some remaining mangoes that will be obviously carried over to day 2. And in this case, it's 4. I'm sorry, that was supposed to be included here in the unsold section. So for day 2, we have 5 bought mangoes and 7 sold mangoes. So how many fresh are sold? We can find that by subtracting unsold from sold. Here it will be 3. And how many will be carried over to the next day? We can find that by subtracting total sold from total bought. So here it will be 2. So 2 will be for the next day. Now, since this is the number of fresh mangoes sold on day 2, result will be updated as well. And the updated result after day 2 will be 9. Right? Now, for day 3, 1 mango is bought, 3 mangoes are sold. So, yes, here also, sold mangoes is greater than unsold mangoes. So, there will be some fresh mangoes sold. In this case, it will be 1. So, after day 3, this will be added in the result, and the updated result will be 10. So, that is how we will be solving. Now let's jump to the code and solve this problem using Python. To implement the solution in Python, I'm going to divide the whole process in main 2 steps. I will take all the inputs in the main function, then I will use another function where the actual solution will be calculated. And then that function will return the solution to the main function, and I will print the solution from the main function. So here n will be the first line of input, and I'm going to convert it into integer. Then there will be next n lines that will be days data. So let's define the variable name as days data. It will be a list because there will be multiple values. Since we have already seen in the input format that there will be a pair of numbers separated by space for each line. So how can we compare that? How can we convert each number into integers? What we are going to do, we are going to run a loop. Hash in age, and using this n, we are going to append each line, but definitely we'll have to convert each value into integer. How can we do that? We'll have to use the map function. It will map all the values into integer from the input of each line and splitting them. So this split function by default takes a space as a parameter. Now we will do what? We're going to define a function that will calculate the result, right? So let's define the function as calculate total fresh sold, and it will take this days data list as input. Now what we will do? We'll say that result equals to this function. Let's copy the function, put it here, and we're going to say days data. Then we're going to simply print the result following the format of the output of the question. Now let's solve the problem. So for Python specifically, it's list. It's a list of lists. So what this function will do, it will keep track of all the unsold mangoes and then update total fresh mangoes sold for each step, right? So let's define the variables. Bought initially 0, sold initially 0, definitely unsold 0 as well, and we will have total fresh sold. And this is not a mystery that this will be the final result. So I'm saying return total fresh sold. This result will go here and then it will be printed. So something will be done here. What we will do, we'll run a loop, go through each day and do some calculation. Based on the calculation, this total fresh will be updated. Let's iterate this for each day and we will find the bought mangoes and sold mangoes for each day. Now, exactly as the condition was decided, if number of sold mangoes is greater than number of unsold mangoes, then definitely there are some fresh mangoes that will be sold on that day. So we will calculate that sold mangoes fresh. How? By subtracting unsold from sold. So this is the fresh sold for that day that will be added to this total fresh sold. Total fresh sold. Right. When this is done, unsold will be updated. How? By subtracting sold from bought. This can be positive or negative based on the values of bought and sold. Now, definitely for each step this will be updated and the final result will be returned. Now we will run this using the example and see how it does. 3, 10, 6. We will definitely have to follow the input format that was given. And the answer is, so it works for the test case. Now we will submit the solution in the website to check whether it actually runs for all the test cases. Now we are here. Let's submit the solution. Let's see how it works. Now we can see that the solution accepted for all the test cases. So our solution is successful. Now we will go to the next problem. Thank you so much for staying with me until this time.